The story of Dante Alighieri and Beatrice Portinari is considered one of the most touching and profound love stories in literary history. Dante's great love, Beatrice, held a significant place in both his life and his works, becoming a sacred figure, especially in the Divine Comedy. In Dante's writings, Beatrice symbolizes pure love and divine wisdom. This story, inspired by real life, has gradually evolved into a spiritual and literary myth over time. Now let's take a closer look at this captivating love story. Dante, born in 1265 into a noble family in Florence, is one of history's most influential poets. His full name was Dante Alighieri, and from an early age, he developed an interest in classical Latin writers and philosophy. Influenced by the intellectual movements of his time, Dante became deeply engaged in politics and the arts at a young age. Florence's political structure played a significant role in shaping Dante's life. The city's power was divided between two major factions, the papal supporting Guelphs and the imperial supporting Ghibellines. Dante was a member of the Guelphs, and during his political career, he held significant positions in Florence. However, in 1302, Dante was exiled from the city and never returned. This exile was a turning point in Dante's life. He spent the rest of his years moving between various cities and courts, living mostly outside of Italy. During this challenging period, Dante matured both personally and as a writer. The works he produced during his exile reflect his profound knowledge and philosophical quest. Beatrice was a member of a wealthy family in Florence. Her father, Folco Portinari, was a rich and influential banker, well known in the city. The Portinari family held an important position within the social and economic structure of Florence during that era. Beatrice's birth year is generally accepted as 1266. Dante Alighieri first saw Beatrice on a May Day in 1274, when Beatrice was only 9 years old, and he instantly fell in love with her. This encounter marked a significant turning point in Dante's life and literary career. Dante loved everything about her: her charm, her radiant personality, her calm presence. Yet, when he was near her, he was so overwhelmed with excitement and shyness that he couldn't muster the courage to speak to her. Dante saw Beatrice for the second time when he was 18 years old. It was one of the happiest moments of his life. The poet describes this second encounter saying, "She greeted me, and the virtue of her greeting was such that I felt as though I had reached the pinnacle of happiness." Though this was the second time he had seen Beatrice, it was the first time she spoke to him. This meeting only deepened Dante's love for Beatrice. Beatrice, like many upper-class women in Florence at the time, married young. In 1287, she wed banker Simone de' Bardi. This marriage widened the distance between Dante and Beatrice, as in that period, love for a married woman could only be expressed in a platonic way. Beatrice passed away in 1290 at the age of 24. Although the exact cause of her death remains unknown, it is believed that one of the common illnesses of the time took her life at such a young age. Beatrice's untimely death had a profound impact on Dante, and in his works, her death is portrayed as both a great personal loss and a spiritual transformation. Although Dante produced many significant works, he is best known for his Divina Commedia. In addition, he wrote philosophical and political texts such as Vita Nuova and De Monarchia. Vita Nuova. This work, belonging to Dante's youth, is regarded as both an autobiographical and literary text. Vita Nuova recounts Dante's profound love for Beatrice Portinari and the spiritual transformation he underwent after her death. Beatrice serves as Dante's muse and symbol of ideal love. In this work, Dante elevates his love for Beatrice from a mere earthly emotion to a profound spiritual connection. Divina Commedia. Dante's greatest work, Divina Commedia, is an epic poem divided into three parts: Hell, Purgatory, and Paradise. The work describes Dante's spiritual journey and symbolizes the salvation journey of the human soul according to Christian belief. At the beginning of the poem, Dante finds himself lost in a dark forest and embarks on a journey starting from hell, moving through purgatory, and finally reaching paradise. During this journey, he is guided by the famous Roman poet Virgil and Beatrice. Divina Commedia explores not only a spiritual quest, but also addresses the political and philosophical issues of the time. The term comedy in the title refers to the notion that the narrative leads the hero to a happy ending, rather than merely implying humor or entertainment. The work is interpreted as Dante's personal and spiritual journey, beginning with his political exile and culminating in his ultimate arrival in the presence of God. De Monarchia. In this work, Dante expresses his political thoughts and views on the balance of power between the empire and the church. He advocates for a universal monarchy and argues that earthly power should be governed by an emperor appointed by God. While asserting that the church should maintain spiritual leadership, he contends that the emperor must ensure the stability of worldly order. Dante is not only a poet, but also an important figure as a philosopher and politician. In the Divina Commedia, he frequently alludes to the philosophical currents of his time, particularly Aristotelian and Thomistic thought. His works deeply explore themes of human moral and spiritual development, as well as beliefs about heaven, hell, and the afterlife. Dante's influence extends beyond the Middle Ages and holds a significant place in the Renaissance. The Divina Commedia is regarded as a major religious, philosophical, and literary work in Western culture, and it continues to be widely read and studied today. Dante's love for Beatrice is seen not just as an individual passion, but as a universal story symbolizing humanity's relationship with the divine. Moreover, Dante broke new ground in the literary field by writing in Italian. At that time, Latin was the language used for official correspondence and literature, but Dante chose to write the Divina Commedia in the vernacular Italian, making literature accessible to a broader audience. This decision greatly contributed to the recognition of Italian as a literary language. Dante lived his life in exile across various regions of Italy, spending his final years in the city of Ravenna. In 1321, while returning from Venice, he fell ill with malaria and passed away. Dante was buried in Ravenna, where his tomb remains an important site of pilgrimage. Although Florence made several attempts to reclaim his remains after his death, Dante's body has stayed in Ravenna. Dante Alighieri is regarded as one of the greatest poets in literary history. His works address universal human issues and deeply explore moral and spiritual values. His love for Beatrice, the spiritual journey depicted in the Divine Comedy, and his political stance have immortalized Dante not only as a writer, but also as a thinker. If you were in Dante's place, would you transform love from an object of affection into a divine guide? What would it mean to you to see love as a spiritual journey? Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments.